our Mother Earth. Our Mother Earth. I'm going to dedicate this reading to Mother Earth and see what information comes up around that, around our respect, our honor, our understanding of the divine feminine, of the mother, of Pachamama, the mother of us all, and the mother essence or the mother energy of the feminine. So I invite you to take a few breaths in and just letting you know that I've already made an offering, said a prayer. And so if you'll join me by taking a few deep breaths, if you can, take a couple at least in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just allowing yourself to align with your physical body, here present in the moment, wherever you are watching this, and allowing that sense of grounding, this beautiful white light coming down from the heavens, grounding you down to the center of the earth and anchoring you there. Reflecting the connection that you have to that iron molten core of the earth, which activates your own hemoglobin, the red blood cells in your body. And as naturally the energy flows back up, just allow yourself to feel this natural activation or awakening of all of your chakras. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and then again white, up through the crown of the head, flowing out and over you like a fountain that is infinite and eternal. And then imagine this beautiful golden light even higher above, a golden light that a thread flows down through your central channel, activating this balance of masculine and feminine, the Ida and the Pingala. Beautiful. And then feel that flow of energy radiating out from the heart, that brilliant light flowing out from the heart center, that key point of connection, and then creating this coherence between the brain and the heart, activating that beautiful and powerful heart coherence within you. Right, which is literally bringing that vibrational field within us from joy, peace, strength, courage, gratitude, humility, and divine love. And just feel those energies, those essences, those sensations and feelings of those frequencies within you. And then with that, having gratitude and appreciation from your heart, just knowing we are in alignment and we together will be blowing into the basket of sacred symbols. And with the intention from that I am presence, your intention, your attention on whatever it is that calls to your heart today, bringing along with it that idea of Mother's Day or of honoring the mother, and then allowing that flow and that movement to circulate, to emanate that intention. So I invite you to blow into the basket 3 times with your intention to receive information, guidance, inspiration, and wisdom from this reading today. I'd like just to do a shout out to any of our ancestors or those who've crossed over, loved ones who've crossed over and are now here in the field, guiding us through our superconscious awareness of their presence in these symbols today. That said, I'm going to throw them first and then I'll tip the screen down. I have a feeling that it's a little off center here. So let me see. Let me make a couple of adjustments. I'm going to make the screen view a little bigger. I don't know if that actually helps, but I'm going to try. So now we've got full screen. And then I'm going to adjust this if I need to. I was trying to get at a better angle or higher above so you can get the full view. And like I said, I will have to I'll get some equipment here shortly to have actually a bird's eye view, which will be really great. And hopefully you've got enough light here, and I'll just tilt it a little bit. Okay. So Sunday, May 8th, 2022. See what kind of guidance we have here today. Here's the inquiry for any of those of you who've been following regularly. This piece of coral represents the question, the inquiry, the intention. So what's fascinating to me is coming out of that is the shaman, your work, star nations, which is about your star family, the star that you are. And you may not be able to see it really great from that angle, but here is horse heading right into the work. And I would say here's the divine feminine, which is absolutely stunning that she's right there. So it's so much about your work in the world as the star being, like the star that you are, with which would mean to me like your purpose, your true purpose. And here, this is about balance of mind, and it is resting on, so fascinating, abundance, the feminine. She's abundant, she's in balance. That is her nature, balance through, I suppose, sometimes what can seem unbalanced, but it's a much bigger picture. And actually what that makes me notice is that we've got a really nice spread today, which is this beautiful, across the divination cloth. The field is pretty evenly spread out. So I would say that's a beautiful inner reflection of what's going on here too with the symbols today. And right at the base of the inquiry, we have this, I don't know, little V-shaped bone, which is all about a fork in the road. So this fork in the road, and then we have Pachamama. Well, this is no accident. So we have the divine feminine and we have Pachamama, which I think of Pachamama is really they're one and the same, but Pachamama, with many of the cultures in the South Americas that refer to her as Pachamama, or the earth as Pachamama, or this principle of the divine feminine that provides as Pachamama. And what I would say at the core of all of this is that it's all about creativity. We're really having to activate our creativity or be aware of our creativity more and more so than ever, because of things that are falling apart. We have to create the new. So when that space is there, what is being called upon us is to tap into our crown, what's coming in from our higher source of wisdom, or our superconscious. I refer to that as that. And this, my friends, is Uranus, which, I was listening to an astrologer that I love. I mention her often, Pam Gregory. And she was speaking of this eclipse that's coming up on the 15th, 14th or 15th, depending on your location. It's a full, what is it? It's a full lunar eclipse, I believe. We had a solar eclipse, I guess, a couple of weeks now, right? New moon, around the new moon. Now we've got this full moon coming up with a full moon solar eclipse, or full moon lunar eclipse. I hope I got that straight. Forgive me if I didn't. I get flipped around sometimes, but what it's saying is Uranus is saying, be prepared for the sudden and unexpected. We are changing at the core of our DNA. And yet here we have got like above our crown and our DNA. So what, at the very core of us as a human or as this functioning life force here on planet Earth. And we also have to remember we've got this higher state of wisdom or a higher source from which we came or that we are still connected to. And so that to me is really key. And it's time to really receive that, this higher wisdom. This is all about this little piece of pine from a giant pine cone is about, giving or receiving. And it's like embracing this idea of receiving. I think, that seems to be a huge theme too. I know astrologically is like, how are we going to balance the giving and the receiving? Most of us, especially those that I know, a lot of women or people in the service industries, it's so much easier to give than to receive. It seems to be our nature. And then we have difficulty with receiving. So there's something about the feminine that's teaching us about not only providing for, but receiving, and that it's a two-way street, right? And this is kind of the rebirth that we're going through with what is falling away, which no longer works. What's essential and important in that is this is Deer Toe, and it's all about innocence, right? Like being in a state of wonder, awe, innocence, that purity of the soul that we came in with. And it's about what is not yet created, right? What is not yet created. And this is what's being amplified right now by Jupiter. We've got Jupiter and Mercury. So expressing ourselves, communication, new ways of being. Uranus can also be electrical, kind of this electrical force like lightning, like boom, we just get hit with a bolt, or an idea. And that's really key. That's kind of what's key here at the center of this reading. And it's all about internally what's going on a creative level, on a spiritual level, in our blueprint, the core of who we are. That would relate to this DNA idea, and that's the physical aspect of it, right? And yet, of course, we know that even though we have this element of DNA within us that informs us or part of who we are, it is not all of us, because the DNA is influenced also by the environment, which is the greater picture, right? The bigger picture. But, what is called for right now, I would say, is having deeper insight. Here is Eagle Condor saying on this spiritual path that you're on right now is that, what's important is community and time to look within, looking at the deeper meaning of things. What represents or provides or can express passion for you? What do you feel passionate about? And this is what's being transfigured right now. I think many of us are feeling a shift in that, maybe even since COVID. It's about where are our values? Where are your greatest values? And where do you want to put your intention and your focus so that you are aligning with your values? Whatever you're doing in the world aligns with your higher values. And definitely about your inner eye, what that has to come from within. It's not something outside of ourselves. And I think many of us realize this now. If we didn't when we were younger, we then begin to uncover that as we get older. And somewhere along the line, maybe say to ourselves or question, what is it we're doing? And maybe it's time to change what that is. Or maybe it's not about just because we're rejecting something or, letting go of it, because I think it's more about it just no longer serves who we have become, right? The moon is here, and it's about, again, this reflection, inner reflection, the feelings, emotions, the more feminine aspects of ourselves. This little cluster here, the great mystery, I would say what's kind of at the core of all this is Venus, truth, love, and beauty. And these higher realms, again, speaking your truth, right? Speaking your truth from your heart, from a heart-centered place, and making that expression known on this earth plane. These two little baskets, the silver and gold, represent the higher forces, the ascended masters, the angelic realms. And then, of course, we have, here we are, we're human, and here's our physical, the emotional, right? The physical self has an aspect of us, an aspect of our awareness is about our emotions, or this idea of water. And, Emoto did so much beautiful work of awakening us to the importance of, this idea of that water is powerful and potent and holds information. And so whatever we infuse into the water, which we, of course, are made up a huge part of water. I don't even know what the percentage really is, 90%, some say 75, some say 80. But a huge majority of that is actually water. But what we know about that now, even more so, is that the water is actually plasma. It's like plasmic. It's plasmic, which is kind of like cosmic water, I would say. And here is Pluto. That's really, bringing in this awareness of huge changes beyond the personal changes. And some of it is just a great mystery, definitely to the mind. Here's the element of air. And it's like, all of this can also at some point in time feel just like too much information, right? TMI. When it's just held in the mind, it's too much information. So there's an aspect of it for balance, I think, that we need to be aware of our emotions, so that we're aware of what is true for us in the heart versus that we just are, I just see there's so much copycatting. How would I say that? Copycatting. People, it's like robotic. People make choices just because someone told them to, or just because they think it's the next best thing to do. But and this is where I think the beauty of community comes in with that, is that we often have community to help reflect, right? Not only help support. Community can be about what nurtures us, what provides for us, and what gets expanded, what gets amplified because we have community. So whatever we receive and give, both through community, gets amplified and put out there in the world. And that is just the nature of life, right? The spiral of life that flows on. And as we move around the circle or the spiral that you can see here, this is a beautiful aspect of it. Tap into your great ones, right? The great. I know many of us don't know them. If some of you were lucky enough to know some of your great grandparents, that's incredible. Tap into that, but you can tap into them energetically. You can just be aware of them. You can write that down. You can focus on the wisdom or the essence of what your great grandparents and your ancestral lines, we have both the masculine and feminine. And it's about, I think, like just going back to the one, right? Going back to the beginning, to creation, to just feeling along your family line. Sometimes here's the eye of God and the vision, right? Really grounding that, knowing that actually is grounded in this idea of our lineage, right? Our lineage is what created the future. And here we are, right? This is Rattle. Oh, this is so cool. I just love how sometimes the symbols themselves create such incredible symbology in the greater picture. So we have this beautiful spiral shell nestled right in this kind of pyramid or triangular shape space of the greats, right? The great ancestors. And this almost is perfectly there too. It's a little off, but here you go, another diamond, right? Kind of like as above, so below. That's what I'm hearing from that. So yeah, and here's Frog right at the top of the hour here, closest to me. Again, asking us to embrace this part of us that's human, but the soul that's on a spiritual journey and evolving. And it's about the collective right? The collective expression, the collective evolution of the whole, right? I love how my mediumship mentor says it's not only making us aware of the evolution of our soul, but it's for the evolution of the whole. And that's ultimately, let's say, like this outer ring, or just as if you know tarot, you realize that there's aspects that are the major arcana and the minor, and this would be like a major arcana saying, this is what the bigger picture shows us, the larger, the greater influences and elements that are happening. And then as we get tighter, we get into the more personal, right? Which was about creativity, what we can actually do in the world. And here's a grandmother on your mother's side, your maternal grandmother, right next to a relationship like the other. You know, there could be a spouse, a loved one, a partner, and a grandmother, your grandmother on your mother's side. That's beautiful. I love that. So just notice that, and notice how those may be influencing your foundation, right? This is your base chakra. Who are you? Who you are, who you truly are, not who your ego, you know, it's not so much about ego. But what are you grounded in? Who are you grounded in? Who are the influences that ground you into who you are? And this seems significant in that we've got the key right here, close to the center, at one of the points of the diamond here. And so where is the lock? Okay, the lock and the key. I like to look at their relationship. And the key and the lock, I mean, the lock is here. It's interesting. It's about, here's Buffalo, this sacred and divine connection or relationship you have with your own heart, right? This Celtic cross in the midst of the heart. So both of them have a lot of space around them, I'd say overall, but you know, what's locked up, you know, is somewhat of, it's about where we are going through this transformation. Some of it's a little cloudy. Here's grandmother on your father's side, your paternal grandmother. She's sitting, resting on Neptune, kind of like what's a little foggy right now. And then, you know, maybe what's foggy around your home, what's closest to home, but just knowing that there's, it may have been hidden or not very clear as of late, but there's something unfolding, I think, as if we look at how this is progressing, that what's becoming clear or balancing out is this idea of getting like regrounded, you know, really regrounding ourselves. When we're in a fog, what's the best thing to do? Ground yourself and take one step at a time. You know, we can't go in leaps and bounds when we can't see clearly, or we can, and then you take your chances about what's ahead. I often think of it on times when I've been traveling along mountain paths and had storms come in, and then all of a sudden you got to really slow down because you don't know when the road's going to curve. So that is the beauty of that, just slowing down. And this is really key, just to reground the self. These are the ancient feminine ancestors on the maternal side, and they're resting right against the Earth star. This idea, this little gem here represents kind of that Earth star chakra below the soles of our feet. Right. And then we're coming back around to, here is mother, grandfather, maternal grandfather. What's interesting is mother is resting on Mars, which is, you know, obviously about moving forward. You know, the mother, I think that's, wow, I'm getting chills. That's like the bigger message of this greater process that's happening, where we started out talking about the feminine. And so here is mother saying, yeah, exactly what we were saying here. The evolution of the soul is mirroring the evolution of the whole. So on some level, we can't help. We can't help but be in the process, because the process is us, and it is also outside of us, ushering us forward, right? Ushering us forward. I'm getting chills on that one. And that was interesting. And when I tipped this, the board a little bit, we got our third chakra, solar plexus, just kind of rolled around. I thought it was going to roll off, but there it stayed. And it's just so, yeah, that dynamic of reclaiming your power of who you truly are in the process of all of this unfolding, unwinding, activations. I mean, I think that's going to be, that's part of what's being marked by this lunar eclipse. This full moon coming up is going to be influencing us for the next 6 months, and maybe beyond, because some of the changes, the shifts, and all of this Uranian energy that we are being influenced by is, really creating a space, an opportunity for huge changes, really big changes, which we know some are obviously about our financial institutions and what's going on with definancing. Many people are shifting into being more aware of crypto, definance, more privacy in some ways. And yet it's kind of a very strange juxtaposition, because when you think of definance or crypto, you think of, okay, you get this privacy with it. And yet there's an aspect of, if you understand coding and you wanted to, you could go back and everything is recorded. So you can find out the truth. Maybe that is what has, with centralized, the downside of the systems, the way we have them now with centralization, is that even though we believe there's this kind of false, there's this mirage of security, it's like, oh, the bank will take care of it, or the government will take care of it, or our guru is going to take care of it. And the truth is, no, that leaves a lot of room for false information, manipulation, flat out lies, right? And then now I think what's coming up in this huge transformation that we're in, this kind of Plutonian influence that's greater than all of us, is the truth is coming out, and it's not very nice, right? A lot of what decentralization did was took away our personal power. And sadly, we're finding out now where the gunk is. I mean, one of the astrologers, I was listening to an interview of 2 different astrologers, and together they both said, yeah, it's like bringing up the sewage. And that is so sad. I mean, it's sad, but it's like, I remember years ago when I was into ecology in college, and there was this metaphor always of like, when you're traveling, let's say, and you're somewhere, and then you realize people who are living without the modern conveniences, it's like, if you are living off the water that is in the pond that you drink from, you are going to know what's going on big time, right? I mean, you're drinking, whatever you're polluting that water with, you are also drinking. And in many ways, we're doing that in a greater, and this is what we're seeing in this greater perspective. We're seeing how we've been doing it to the planet. So I would say cherish every moment of beauty, every moment of the magic, of the innocence, that childlike part of yourself. Really honor that part of yourself, because this is showing you in part the truth, right? And like I said, Mercury and Jupiter, helping you to express what this beauty is in your life, what this truth, what this understanding is that you see in your life, what is being reflected to you, and then what you are reflecting back out into the world. Wow. So mother, wow. So I love that the mother showed up right at the beginning, right at the foundation of our inquiry. It would be like at our feet. The mother is the foundation. And the inquiry is saying, have a bigger vision, right? Or or at least remember the bigger aspect, the greater aspects of who you truly are, right? The star that you are. And let that be your work in the world, underlying whatever else you do, right? Like making a choice, making conscious choices to live a life you love, to live with health and vitality, right? To be the predominant creative force. This is being the predominant creative force in your life. And then reaping the benefits of what that unfolds for you, right? And being on that path of living a life you love. What greater purpose, what greater understanding could one have in this human journey that we're on, right? To reclaim the knowing of the creator that you are. So I'm going to tip the screen back up to say goodbye to everyone. And I hope that was helpful. I hope it was just enjoyable. I felt like for me, it was just a reflection, a confirmation of many things that I already know that are going on in the world or that are being expressed to me. And it's affirming that I feel like things are on track and unfolding as with divine purpose, right? With divine purpose of this deep, deep feminine wisdom that's here on planet Earth. So with that said, have a wonderful Mother's Day, everybody. Blessings to all the mothers out there, whether you're masculine or feminine, all those that caretaker aspect within us. May your day unfold with beauty and have a wonderful, peace-filled week. Thanks for joining me.